Always uncertain of her appeal to the opposite sex, Garland fell hopelessly in love with bandleader Artie Shaw.
We became very good friends, and I became her sort of big brother in a way. But then meanwhile, a tragic thing happened. I went out, had a date with Lana Turner, and got married. And Judy had a big breakdown. I didn't realize that she was kind of had a crush on me, you know. She was 16, and I was all of 29. And I said to her one day, what happens? Well, you know, why don't you come by? She said, Artie, you know, I like Lana, but it's like sitting in a room with a beautiful vase. She was right, because Lana was an airhead. She was a beautiful ornament.
Searching again for a soulmate, in 1941 Garland married pianist and composer David Rose. But with pressure from both the studio and her mother to concentrate on her career, the marriage stood little chance.
For me and my
Garland's career was on a roll. She was big box office and she knew it. Hoping to take on the challenge of more adult roles, she initially turned down a part in Meet Me in St. Louis, but was persuaded by producer Arthur Freed to take a chance with a new MGM director, Vincent Minnelli, with sensational results.
Buzz, buzz, buzz went the buzzer. Wop, wop, wop went the wheels. Stop, stop, stop went my heartstrings. As he started to leave, I took hold of his sleeve with my hand. And as if it were planned, he stayed on with me, and it was grand just to stand with his hand holding mine to the end of the line.
Meet Me in St. Louis is the first great musical, because the songs and the story are completely intertwined, and they are completely dependent upon each other.
Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me.
It's just exquisite, and all that adolescent yearning, like when she puts the lights out with the boy next door. One by one she puts the lights out. Oh, and you just feel the ache of being young and wanting love. I mean, it's achingly beautiful.
No, it's here. Well, certainly is dark in here with the lights off.
It certainly is.
It's a measure of the tenderness in Minnelli, I think, that he saw that Judy became stronger if she was trying to help a child. That's a kind of genius to see that.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. Next year all our troubles will be out of sight.
Judy is so perfectly placed in the film. And you'd have to say, I think, it's because Minnelli understood her so well.
He clearly loved her. You know, I mean, look at the way she's photographed. Just ravishing. I mean, you know, I'm gay and I think she's ravishing.
Stormy weather.
Captivated by Minnelli's creativity and sophistication, Judy moved into his Hollywood home, having married him in 1945.
Keeps raining all the time.
She loved him. He was an older man. She liked older men until late in her life because they offered some stabilizing factor.
Minnelli adored her, but he was homosexual. And he couldn't, I think, satisfy her. She was an intensely insecure, needy, sexual person.
Minnelli and Garland had one child together in 1946, Liza. Although Judy suffered from postnatal depression, exacerbated by her drug dependency, away from the studio for nearly a year here at her home on Evanview Drive, she regained her health and sanity. But it was not to last. Within weeks of being back at MGM, the pressures were as great as ever. And it was on The Pirate, the last film that Minnelli directed her in, that the strain began to show.
We were there on the set at 6 o'clock in the morning, ready to do the first scene. And Judy Garland, she wasn't ready. She was in her dressing room trying to get herself together. because she wasn't feeling well. And we waiting and waiting, and Mr. Minnelli was biting his fingernails. He was a nervous wreck. And then it was like 6 o'clock in the evening. So Mr. Minnelli said, everybody go home. I'll call you when she's ready. We were home for 3 weeks before she got herself together.
Yes, I think by then she was taking a great many pills. She would come in late and had to be jollied into getting ready. And you couldn't, when you look at that movie, you can't see a single trace of any difficulty she's having. She's so fantastic.
Like the flag by the Caribbean, or Caribbean.
Released in 1948, The Pirate was a flop.
Stormy weather.
Garland's professional relationship with Vincent Minnelli was now over. She would never work with him again. Although she had already indulged in extramarital affairs with men like Orson Welles and Yul Brynner, in her personal relationship with Minnelli, she continued to ignore what was obvious to many.
Judy would not hear that Vincent might be gay. And she would say, oh, it's just his artistic temperament. Well, she discovered the truth. Judy came home unexpectedly from the studio and walked into her bedroom and discovered Vincent with a man. She ran down the hallway to her bathroom, broke a glass, cut her wrist, and that, as far as I know, was their first suicide attempt.
Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together.
Garland's next movie, Easter Parade, co-starring Fred Astaire, was a smash and confirmed her as one of the leading musical stars of her day. But as the trips to sanatoriums and psychiatrists increased, she completed only 2 further films here at MGM, the last of which was Summer Stock. After her 3rd suspension in a row for failing to turn up for filming, she was fired in 1950 and attempted suicide yet again. The story hit the press and turned Garland overnight from star to victim. Having finally separated from Vincent Minnelli, she fled to New York.
The clown with his pants falling down, or the dance.
In 1951, after being invited to do a concert at the London Palladium, Garland took the same show to the Palace in New York for a record-breaking 19 weeks.
It was the most exciting night of theater I can remember.
I remember her last number that she sang was Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way on.
She went down to the footlights and sang Over the Rainbow and cried.
There was a teardrop all over the theater. Everybody was crying. I was crying too.
It was something that was really extraordinary.
That audience exploded with something which was beyond audience enthusiasm. They had their arms raised, tears running down their cheeks. It was like being at a religious revival.
That was her appeal. People would say, bless you, Judy, bless you, and God knows. You get to believe that. You believe that you're some kind of an icon.
Really do come true.
The great thing about my mother was she was so intelligent and terribly sensitive to other people's thoughts, what they needed from her. And one time I said, she was laughing at something, I said, why do so many people think you're unhappy, Mama? And she said, because they need to. She knew exactly what she was doing.
I'll go my way by myself.